Well, man, let's dive on into it. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Ricky. Thanks for having me on. And yeah,
I love your shirt. It says "On Your Nerves."
Yes, on your nerves. It works well in the clinic. Doesn't work well at home when I'm on my wife's nerves.
It's hard to stay off the wife's nerves.
Yeah,
I will say.
I told her I do it for a living, but then
I get on people's nerves. Like that's what I do.
Yeah, and then she's like, not at home, right?
Not at home, dude. Well, I love your shirt because welcome to the podcast today. I've got doctor, specialist, friend, Dr. Justin Lin. What's up,
everyone?
Man? So Dr. Justin has his own YouTube channel that's absolutely banging. It's super informative. You can get a lot of quick tips to help yourself out. I've been a client of Justin's myself. I'm sure we'll do stuff together in the future.
Absolutely. And vice versa. I've been a client of Ricky's.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For the viewers, can you just tell us like your elevator pitch of what you do?
Well, all things considered, I run a clinic, practice chronic pain clinic that largely deals with nerve pain, chronic pain, basically anything strange, weird, headaches, things from like bad surgeries gone wrong, so that, we're trying to find the efficient way to get people better. And through different channels, like you mentioned, YouTube, we're trying to give out our content and the stuff that makes our clinic a little different. And we have our channel Rehab and Revive. Just look it up. We have Rehab and Revive Pain and Wellness. Rehab and Revive Pain and Wellness Center is what we rebranded from Rehab and Revive Physical Therapy. But nice. So we're really trying to get people to be more optimal. Also give them a little bit of hope where there hasn't been a whole lot of hope. If you've been struggling, suffering, there's a lot of things that get missed through the cracks a lot of times in our healthcare.
Yeah.
And all it takes in general is a little bit more time with our clients and some more precision and thoughtfulness that I always tell my team is basically you want the intention. Basically you want to, attend to details and then you want to intend for details, right? So those are things that when someone's body breaks down, we got to address those, and we want to find the little chronic pain, little glitches in people's history and stuff.
100%.
So yeah, in general, it's just, we're like your ordinary type of trying to get people to rehab, trying to get people to revive and get back to the things they love, but we do it a little differently. I always, that's basically how it is. How we do it is what matters.
Absolutely.
It's not that, yes, injury is inevitable, but how we deliver the care is what's going to matter, being meticulous there.
In the beginning of that, you said you kind of give people hope where there was none, or something to that essence. And it's because, at least how I've come to understand it, when you have nerve problems, they're sneaky. It's not... you can go to a bunch of other doctors and things, and they'll tell you, oh, it's this muscle, stretch this, stretch that. But no one's, unless they're an expert like you, they're almost just not familiar to what needs to actually happen. Would you say that's pretty much it? Or
yeah, I would say nerve pain is something, I personally dealt with. And I went from clinic to clinic, doctor to doctor. And I'm 42 now, but my pain journey started probably when I was like 14, 15, hitting puberty. And people thought I was like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and they're like, "Yo, you're, if you just look at me externally, it's like, yeah, you got muscles, you're athletic, like nothing's wrong with you, you're fine." And I was like, "But I'm not fine. I live in my body. I know it. I'm a little bit more aware." So it does sneak up, and then as my life journey, I had surgeries. Some surgeries I probably say I shouldn't have had because of this type of nerve pain, thinking it's orthopedic stuff.
Right.
And then that kind of like snowballed from there. And then I'm basically limping and my arm's turning blue and I'm tripping over myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's something bigger going on for what I should be, a normal, athletic, young male that shouldn't be dealing with this stuff. So then basically this course has taken me to the nerve understanding, nerve pain, all the circuitry, all the inner layers that need to, be addressed as part of your care. So in that, I created a system called neuromechanical therapy. Basically, it's nerve first. Basically, you want to do everything you can to improve the nerve mobility, nerve function, and then improve the mechanics after that, which is your general type of thing. But a lot of, that kind of that ground root, a little bit more of that root cause level is where we want to tend to and be intentional for.
Absolutely. What's the number one thing you see just across the board with nerves and pain? What are you seeing in your patients?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of people with a lot of the numbness, tingling, especially those in the legs or the arms. Largely the arms because we kind of have our poor sleeping habits, and you get pinched nerves. Sometimes those of you may have woken up with a locked neck and then start feeling a zing down your arm. Guess what? That's your pinched nerve, right? So
Yeah.
and everyone generally knows like that's a pinched nerve. So how do we deal with it?
Right.
And so I would say a lot of our habits nowadays, like sleep, being on the cell phone, being on the laptops, are really creating some of this nervous system like excitement or damage per se.
No, absolutely. What's one thing that everybody can do just generally to avoid nerve pain,
Yes. Yeah. I would say basically it's managing your inflammation.
Okay.
That's one of the things we talk about. So anything you can do to help manage your inflammation, if you've got some gut stuff, make sure you've got the right diet. If you've got sleep things, stress things, all these inconsistent things, you want to start like regulating it. And then of course, posture. If you could basically, I would say 90% of chronic pain this is just me, I don't have any literature or anything,
Sure.
but just from what I've seen in my 18 years of experience,
Yeah.
if you can manage your posture on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, just kind of like resetting your posture and sleeping on your back.
Yeah.
And
actually, can you elaborate on that?
Sure.
You've on the sleeping on your back bit, on the sleeping on your back bit, you've actually given me very specific not pain pressure, but pressure numbers on your spine. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So basically, everyone knows that gravity's coming down at the rate of 9.81 meters per second squared. A lot of my doctoral research was on load and pressure and how like the knee pain would be, if your hip didn't have enough strength, and that would affect the knees and stuff like that. But you can imagine extrapolating that to the spine. So if you didn't have enough strength, you didn't have enough, so the gravity's coming down at us all the time. That's something we can't take away, right? Unless you're in outer space.
Right.
But with that said, you've got pressures coming down. So in general, if you're sleeping on your back, you've increased your spinal load about 16%. If you're on your side, it's 40 to 60%. And then when you're on your stomach, 80 to 120%. And I like to kind of basically say in general, if you're standing for about 8 hours, that's 80% load. Sitting for 8 hours, 80% load. If you're about to jump, that's about 100% compression load.
Yep.
And then when you land from a body weight jump, that's 120%. So that's your the way to kind of describe like basically what are you doing to yourself when you're sleeping and sleeping poorly. So yes, we really as one of the first things we talk about at Rehab and Revive is we discuss sleep across the board. All the doctors that our clinic, we talk about you got to address this first, because if we can do all the cool magic tricks and techniques, but you go back to a very poor sleeping habit, it's coming back.
Right.
We're gonna lose.
Right.
And you're gonna lose because you only see us once or twice a week for an hour.
Right.
And then you're sleeping for 8 hours or maybe slightly less. 7 days a week.
So 100%. So to sum that little part up, because it's so powerful and it so well, so you just move through it so quick. To sum that up, if you're sleeping on your back, that's the least amount of pressure on your spine.
Yes.
And if you're sleeping on your stomach, that is the most amount of pressure on your spine.
That's the most amount of pressure.
And the more you put pressure on your spine, especially while sleeping, I believe you said leads to deterioration further quicker.
Yes. You're going to deteriorate. You're going to put those compressive loads on your spine.
When it's not necessary.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. You can preserve and prevent your spine times 2 by just sleeping on your back.
Absolutely.
That's wild.
So
I've never been able to sleep on my stomach since we've worked together.
We've talked about
over 3 years ago.
Yes.
I literally was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I just feel it now. I can just feel it. I'm
it feels weird, even like 10 minutes into it, right?
Yeah, dude.
And so it's a habit, and that's the one thing. And for those of you who are interested in how we teach sleep, it's on our YouTube. It's accessible to everybody, so check that out. We love talking about just easy things you can do with pillow setups or even just quick cues to give yourself the right basically the chance to succeed.
Absolutely. No, that's where it all starts. Another question for you. In the beginning of answer before last, you had mentioned that the gut health and inflammation could lead to spine problems. Walk me through that. Like, what is that?
Well, we're thinking about how, the gut, obviously there's more and more research out there. Its inclusion into like the second brain and and just the health. But mostly I'm looking at gut in terms of inflammation.
Yeah.
And so if you're allergic to something, or your body's disagreeing with something, or you're eating, something with that's just creating havoc, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have that inflammatory response. Largely happens at the gut. We can have a 2-hour lecture on it, of course.
Yeah.
But in gist, when you've got that excess like toxin like running around your body, or excess fluid or whatnot, it starts breaking down, and your body's always going to fight inflammation to a degree, in the sense that the response is to build scar tissue. The response is to, try to heal something that, maybe doesn't need a whole lot of healing other than just stop putting the wrong gas, wrong fuel in your body. Right. So you're just you're gonna be in a higher state of cortisol, and those things just tend to break down our body. So, obviously, I'm kind of like maybe mixing a few theories and stuff into this thought process, but the more inflammation we got, the more chance we're going to break down, the more easily we're going to break down.
No, I don't think you're mixing anything up. I think it all makes sense. Everything speaks to each other.
And there's a bunch of, sometimes there's competing theories.
It's okay.
One or the other. So
this is what you practice and how you've been able to create success for your clients. So that's where I'm at with it. Like, there's always going to be multiple ways to do. There's multiple ways to skin a what is this?
Skin a cat.
I don't understand that expression. How did that ever become a thing?
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a torture, right?
Why don't we say peel a potato?
Yeah, peel a potato.
There's multiple ways to peel a potato. So I'm not worried about that. I just want to know what's working for you and your clients.
No, it's definitely working for us. And so, but I always I mean, there's always competing, information out there, and everyone's free to choose what they want to choose.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're in pain, you might as well try it all.
Right, exactly.
We're just trying to give you a shortcut.
Absolutely.
So for the inflammation, is there any test you can recommend? Like, how do people get in? So the problems with the nerves is a byproduct of the problem in the stomach, but sometimes that goes unnoticed. So how do you test for that? How do you look for those things?
At our clinic, we use a lot of hands-on techniques.
Okay.
So we'll look at nerve tension. We'll look at basically every organ has a rhythm. We have some visceral mobilizing techniques or visceral testing techniques, and we'll check your gut on a more mechanical level.
Sure.
In terms of like inflammation, there's no real way unless you get the blood test of inflammation.
Okay. Which test is that? Is that the CR?
It's the SED rate. It's a
CR.
CR. Yeah, it's a SED rate. All that fun stuff.
So if someone was maybe having some pain, and I'm just asking for the people that aren't like local to us.
Yes.
Or even, I mean, you could be local-ish and still come see you. I know people do all the time.
Sure.
But say they're in another country.
Right.
What would be, like, what's some tangible stuff we can take away to start figuring out what's going on in the gut?
I would say, obviously, are you bloated? Are you gassy?
Yeah.
Soon after you eat, are you bloated all the time?
Right.
Are you going to the bathroom all the time, right?
Yeah.
Even at night?
Yeah.
Those are the big things that, something's just wrong with your rhythm, right? You should be able to sleep your 6 to 8 hours without having to run to the bathroom.
Right.
That's when I know my gut's the healthiest.
Sure.
I'm sleeping through the night, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not having to get up to eliminate or void. But I would say the high inflammation folks, all you do is just take your finger and scratch your forearm, your skin, and see how quickly that skin raises, right? And I mean, easily I can scratch myself and it'll start raising. So I'm a high inflammatory person in general. So you want to do things.
Aren't?
I am.
You
I
are.
am.
Okay.
So and so that makes sense why I've had nerve problems and breakdown and so on and so forth over the years. So that's an easy one. Just like some people, like a light scratch, like my dog can come scratch me and it's raised for hours, and then I'm like, oh man. So That's kind of like your like little self test you can do. It's a histamine effect, which is a form of inflammation.
Right.
And so that totally can happen. But yeah, tenderness,
Yep.
Puffiness,
Yep.
Warmth to an area.
Yep.
Those are all like kind of your signs of like just systemic inflammation.
That makes sense.
And brain fog.
Yeah,
if you're,
absolutely.
If you're finding migraines, headaches, those are common stuff.
Right. No, that makes sense. And I've dived into some of this stuff. I'm trying to figure a lot of my stuff out as well right now too.
Absolutely.
But I'm always curious. Are you allowed to talk about like some of the coolest patients you have, or is that like NDA type?
I could talk about general things.
So
not
who are
like,
some of the rock stars?
Not features, not necessarily like maybe ethnicity or anything. But
who's the coolest, or who? Give me a insight into some of your celebrity clients.
We've had number of like ball players, we've had number of like fighters and stuff like that. It's pretty cool to see professional athletes in general
in your office. That you're working
in my
on.
office. There's some big ones where I had to close the clinic, but it's so cool because working with professional athletes on not necessarily a personality basis. I would say they're probably sometimes celebrities and athletes are some of the toughest personalities, but I would say their bodies are so malleable, almost like, you and I have, daughters and they're young and almost as malleable as like a baby's like body,
Wow.
right? So it's like I can move them and so to a high level athlete, like just one thing wrong, like one small ripple, is a ripple effect to their whole performance.
Right.
And most of us regular people, it'll go unnoticed for years or decades or whatever. And it's so cool because like you make the right change and their body starts like adapting, their neuromuscular system's so highly involved, and it's such a neat thing to see because they just, they know something's off and it starts affecting their performance. They miss their fastballs, like,
sure.
Locations or whatever. And, you make that right, like small tweak, right? Maybe unnoticeable to us.
Yeah.
But to them, it makes all the world of difference. So having, knowing what efficient movement looks like and knowing how these things perform are really cool. So I've value the bodies and how malleable professional. It doesn't even matter age, right? I've had retired athletes and their bodies just adapt to the right changes really fast. It's a square peg, square hole, right? So it just like.
Do you
fits.
think that's just because they keep themselves in good shape?
I think they just have it's just a refined like neuromuscular nervous system.
But how do they do
that keeps them up to, we all have it, right? You can, I remember the first time you and I met, you looked at one of my YouTubes and you're like, this is what I would change, right? You're like, this framing, this, oh yeah, look at this little wall socket. I would have like, moved this camera over and stuff that like, after you pointed it out, I was like, dang, right? I was like, I didn't know, I was like, and it does change the shot, right? Or it does change the way you look at things, and it's something you've trained, right?
Yeah.
And so to the high, going back to that and relating to the athletes, like they're so adept at managing like maybe where the wind is and at this direction, if the pop fly is like over here, like the ball's going to be actually over there, right? And they kind of know that, and they're calculating it in their bodies.
Right.
If you ask them, how did you make that catch? They'll probably say, I don't know. I just tracked the ball. And, or if you ask Jordan's like why he went left and right, and then all of a sudden he swung around and made the layup.
Right.
He's like, well, I saw that blocker coming from the back, and then this and that. It's like, and you're like, how did you do that?
Right.
Right. And it's like a lot of training, and it is like you said. But I do think there is a nature. They're just naturally better. They're just naturally, there's like, I can try to do, Jerry Rice's workout, right?
Sure.
I remember how regimented that was, and I'd probably break down like 2 minutes into it, right? That's why these guys are great. And it's so cool to marvel at, even going to Cirque du Soleil, right? I've had a lot of performers worked in the circus as well.
That's cool.
And their bodies are so cool, like as well, this flexible gymnastic type of body. So just leaving as plain as possible without giving away names. But I think, high level is just it's a different animal. Like, and it's so cool. I'm sure it's like if you worked with a regular person that knew how to be in front of the film or in front of the camera, sorry, and then an actor. It's just like, man, you like really,
there's a different
you
level
played
of,
that camera really well.
Yeah.
And you know it too, as from behind the camera, you're like, man, that was good.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty good. We're good. One cut.
Jeez, incredible though.
Right. So that's at least maybe I'm trying to make it some analogies to it, or analogies. And everybody's body's different. Everybody's body's cool and unique, and I love that. I love going to work every day because it's always a challenge.
Yeah, that's so cool. Now, how do these high level people? How are they finding you?
I have I think it's just one person at a time. We're trying to just treat one person at a time, and people are generally connected to another person.
Yep.
Obviously, we're out there. We're transparent. We have everything on our website. We have our YouTube. We have our Yelp reviews, and so all those things have helped. Make us more visible and just I think that's kind of the way it is, right? It's like you always say, we're always going to do business with people we like, know, and trust. Right. And I think even if you don't know me, Dr. Lin, right, you're going to see me in action. You're going to see me talking about these exercises, and you're like, hey, I want to work with this guy, or I want to work with people, my other doctors at my practice.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the quickest way to know liking and trusting is content, or how you present yourself in content. Your YouTube channel. So how has that changed your business? Because what are you guys at now in subscribers?
We're getting close to the 250,000 subscribers. We're so probably by end of next month, we should hit that number.
Absolutely.
And that's been my practice is about 13 years now. I didn't start that till about 12 years ago. It was, YouTube for healthcare people wasn't really anything. Most people were kind of doing their like stunts and pranks and all that stuff, and video gaming. I think maybe it was just starting at that time, but healthcare, no one really was kind of. I would say there's about 3-4 physical therapist players kind of jumped in around the same time, 2010, 2011, 12, and I got lucky. I would say it wasn't really too much strategy to it. I was sitting around. I started my practice. There wasn't too many clients at the time. And so one of my friends just suggested, like, why don't you just throw some of your content up or the stuff you teach people with your free. I was sitting at my office, twiddling my thumb. Yeah. So I just took a, cheapo camera, showed people how to walk. That now video is some 4 million or something like that views. And, and then I was like, well, maybe we should do something with it. Right.
Yeah. No,
quickly, I was like, something as simple as how to walk, but what we found, what my director of operations and I and our media team have found is like sometimes just asking the simplest questions. People are afraid to necessarily ask their friends or their spouses, but they're going to quickly search it on, YouTube, right? They're like, because they're like, how to walk? That's a dumb question. Yeah. It's like, how do you walk? Yeah. It's like, let's go find out.
Yeah,
like instead of like ask some like friend or whatnot, or how do you go to the bathroom correctly? Or that's been a popular video, or things like that. It's like
how to go to the bathroom correct. Is it like number twosies or what?
Yeah. Some people are constipated and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So our channel's mainly been how to walk, how to poop, and you're dizzy and you need help there. So that's really what's helped the content wise. If I were to be more analytical on it, but I think.
How do you poop?
How do you poop?
Like I'm genuinely.
I poop like you, right?
Yeah, just sitting down. But is it like feet up? What is there a strategy to what?
We talk about not necessarily the technique of pooping, but or of sitting down per se. We do highly recommend things like the squatty potty or elevating it above to elongate your colon, because then you're basically throwing your pelvis right under, and then it's just a clear shot down, right?
Yeah, not like no turns or anything.
Yeah, but a lot of times, like we talked about gut health, because of the inflammations and abuse to our gut, drinking whatever drugs.
Yeah.
and I'm not talking about recreational drugs, more like prescription drugs can make you constipated and all that stuff. So that like twists and turns your organs a little bit, right? And beats it up a little bit, so makes it not. We basically say motility is the form of mobility of getting the feces or whatever to move.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is we teach trigger point like stuff on our YouTube. We're massaging it out in like a clockwise manner, and that's all been great. And people need it. They're sitting on the toilet and they haven't voided in 4 or 5 days. That's painful, right?
Yeah,
stomach
man,
pain is one of the worst, right?
So for the record, I dislocated my ankle like 3 years ago, something like that. And I was taking strong pain meds, and I did not know that.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most miserable like moments of my life, realizing that, oh, I'm not going to be able to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
Because I took those pain meds and I was as clogged gets. That was miserable.
Yeah.
So understood there.
Yeah. So you sit there, you're sitting and you're like, let me look at the time. I've been on the toilet for 30 minutes, right? So that's when people are probably checking out our YouTubes. I can only imagine what it looks like.
Yeah.
for someone at home, it's like, how do I poop? And so.
But I mean, that is a catchy headline though, because there's a technique for everything.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And our job is to help make the world a better place. At least that's our global mission, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're angry because you can't poop and you're poopy, right? You gotta take care of it. We do need help you, right? Everyone needs help.
So in that answer, you said 12 years you've been working on YouTube?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I didn't really focus on it till about right before the pandemic, of course.
Okay.
We didn't have a really strategy to it. So we were sitting around, I don't know, in 2019, like 18,000, 20,000 or whatever. Yeah. Something, it wasn't much. So it was basically, 8-9 years of it just kind of letting it organically do its thing, but with a more strategic posting and all that stuff, we've grown it in the last 4 years, right? So and it's been good, right? Like it's it's not a huge like cash cow like some people might think revenue wise, but in general it's just helping people. And if my goal was to make money, I'd see more patients, right?
Sure.
But my goal was to get people more informed, get a little bit of marketing into the world in our community, but ultimately really just make our content more accessible to people in India, Afghanistan, wherever, and anyone that needs it or is curious about it. So
that's super, super cool. Even 18,000, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How much is it weird to ask how much you make on YouTube, or is that?
No, you can ask. I would say, for every 100,000 subscribers, you can pretty much guesstimate that you're making about $1,000 of ad revs, and depends on your views, of course, but so you can kind of extrapolate that from there.
250,000.
Yeah. So
what the heck? That's like 2,500. That's people's rent, bro. What? That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
but to your point, it's not. Well, actually, God, it could be. You could categorize that as life changing.
yeah, it could. But obviously, I pay my team.
No, I understand. But like that, some of that pays for itself.
Yeah,
like that's amazing. It does.
Some of it will cover the cost,
dude.
And everything else on top is gravy, right? Is what I view. Yeah. I do think if you're going to be in the YouTube realm, it's getting the right sponsorships, getting the right like deals in place, and then being choosy about it, because everyone's gonna. Once you hit maybe $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, people start like wanting to send you stuff, and then you talk about it. But then if you don't have a strategy, which I didn't have a strategy, till recently.
No, totally.
People will pay you for their or give you a percentage of the commission, and
that's cool.
Which is great, right? Like you and I, we worked on a project for a massage chair
and the cold plunge.
And cold plunge, right?
So cool.
So I make a anywhere from 1% to 5% off that, and you know what? That's just the video's out there 24 hours a day. So, if I'm making a little bit of something,
it's like a one-time upfront thing that you have to do
right.
for it. And then it just kind of grows and grows.
Yeah. And it grows. And
talk about passive income.
Yeah.
Once you put the money into, or once you put the upfront energy, then it just sits there and makes you a percentage of.
Exactly.
That's
and
incredible.
That's great. So in essence, that's, I think, when you're talking about the big, like, YouTubers and stuff like that, of course they're getting money from YouTube, but they're getting money from the sponsors and
I just made a video about like how to monetize. I was like, if I was, to work for you and how to monetize your account in 30 days, like this, how I do it. And it's like, I've been making a lot of content around the idea of like, you don't necessarily have to have the following, but if you have a solid product or business you could lead back to, then you're kind of in a good place.
Right. And that's kind of what it is, right? Like, I'm not using YouTube as my form of income. It's just it's just another stream,
supplemental, but it's still
it's just another stream. But it all feeds each other, right? One, because my patients will get these videos as their homework, and they'll do that, and they'll see that we put some production costs into it.
Absolutely.
There's a little bit more sense of value. 100%. I don't know if you know any clinics that are doing that. I don't think I haven't heard that. So we've been doing that for 10, 12 years. Above and beyond our competition. So I think it's great, and just, adds to something that is more of my purpose, or my sense of purpose in the healthcare realm, is to, disseminate and give good content out there, safe content, as best knowledge as I can at the time, right? Obviously things change, research changes, science changes. But at least at the time, I'm going to give you my best. And that's what it is. I'm going to give my clients my best too. So.
Love it. No, dude, love it. And that's it's crazy how successful you can be. Yeah, I mean, you kind of downplay it, but I'm looking at that as like wow, that's amazing.
No, I appreciate it.
What are, back to the nerves a bit, are there any like common misconceptions that people have about nerve health or anything like that you can address, or is there, because I'm always looking for the inside scoop,
like
on
the
something.
biohack, right? I would say that's the way to go, is to definitely address the nerves. The little inside scoop, I would say, a lot of the times is your body will let you know within 30 minutes whether you like something or you didn't like. You had a really bad workout or workout you thought was good, but 30 minutes later you're like frozen. You can't move your body, and a nerve has actually interesting behavior, and we have a scale at our clinic because I lived it. You have your healthy nerve over here, and then when nerve starts breaking down a little bit, you actually start feeling this like cold, hot temperature type of thing, which a lot of people kind of be like, oh, it's just circulation issue. I just have poor circulation. That could be the very beginning of your nerve breakdown. You just ignore it. If you ignore it a little further, it feels like tightness. So like your tight muscle feeling, that could be a nerve thing too. So it's very like, unless you really have been intentional about what tight muscles feel like and what nerve pain, early breakdown of nerve pain, breakdown is, it's hard to tell the difference. And it's hard to just even explain it until you're living it, really. But it feels like a tight muscle, right? If you ignore it a little further, it becomes more painful, and then people are like, "Oh, I'm just having arthritic changes or whatever," and it feels very similar. But then once you get into the realm of numbness and tingling, then numbness, as it gets worse, that's your surefire sign that you're living in that nerve, thing. So that's when most people decide to come see us. Then if you really ignore it and you blow that stop sign, then you're having like these motor paralysis things, like these mechanical things, like, drop foot is one of them, or, you're trying to use your key and you keep dropping it because you can't, pinch the key and stuff like that. And so you're like, man, or you can't open the bottle, right? Or sorry, the twist cap or whatever. Those are some stuff to really be mindful of. So kind of paying attention to that scale. And really understanding. And then as you get better, guess what? You rewind the clock. So it goes from, numbness to tingling to pain. And people don't realize that, hey, if you start off at numb and tingling and now you're at pain, Well, it's actually a good thing. But if you went from pain to numbness and tingling, that's a bad thing.
Oh.
So knowing the scale, and we have a video on our, just look up nerve behavior on my YouTube channel. I talk about it a little bit more in depth.
Yeah.
But you go back and then it starts feeling like pressure, then it starts feeling some temperature stuff. Then as you get, fully recovered, then it's just back to normal, right? So
Does thank you, because that makes a lot of sense. And you said all of that starts with hot or cold in one area.
yeah, right.
So like my finger or my hand, like how granular are we talking? Are we talking a finger? Or are we talking a hand?
Easily, yeah.
Really,
Yeah,
a finger?
A finger, yeah.
So if you got coldness, heat or cold,
Yeah,
on
and
any
it's just
part
like
of your body.
compared to like the rest, you're just like, man, it feels a little cold here or whatnot.
So the misconception is that if you have like a cold hand or something, you think it's poor circulation.
Yes.
You probably should start to think about
that,
nerve
yeah.
damage.
Yeah. And then like
Or
I
the
said,
beginning of nerve damage. I
yeah,
should say. I don't want to
right?
scare anyone.
Yeah, nerve
okay.
breakdown.
Nerve
Yep,
breakdown, right.
exactly. So that's one way to look at it.
And
So,
then one thing that everybody can do starting tonight that would help keep their nerves healthy.
yeah, so I would say it's definitely addressing how you sleep. Get on your back.
Sleep on your back.
We do highly recommend as a supplemental as a concentrated cherry juice.
Really?
Yep. So that's a natural. It's got melatonin, it helps your sleep, and it's got some important
Can you take it at
antioxidants.
night too, or?
Yep, you take it at night. Some people take it with their alcohol.
Yeah,
I don't recommend that.
Well,
but,
I do it as I would do it as like a mocktail, but
yeah.
concentrated cherry juice.
Yeah, so it's like a syrup, right? So it's not cherry juice, and it's not cherry juice from concentrate.
Where do you get it?
You can get it at Mother's Market. You can get it at...
what does it look like?
You
Is
can
it like
order it on Amazon. Vitacost.com is usually where I get mine.
And what does that do for the body?
So basically, it's going to manage that systemic inflammation.
Really?
So that's almost like a cure-all. And I can tell you, just for instance, in general, I was lactose intolerant for ages, and and I love ice cream. So and then obviously, like if I had ice cream, I'd pay for it with the porcelain gods.
The porcelain gods.
And not to give you guys an image or anything.
Too much of a visual.
But I was on the cherry juice concentrate every night, 2 tablespoons, 1 hour before bed, help my sleep, help manage my inflammation. And I stopped ice cream for a good maybe 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
And then I had ice cream.
And you were fine.
And I was fine.
No way.
And then so
No
that's like
way,
that
bro.
gut, that whole thing. I start going, man, there's something to this.
No
So,
way.
kind of going back to that, my little anecdote is, yeah, I can have ice cream. I can't have it every day.
For sure.
But I can have it
More than you used to be
more
able
than
to
I
have it.
used to, and I wouldn't have any recourse of it. So
Do you have
so that makes sense. Like if you're keeping that systemic inflammation down,
Yeah.
your gut's going to be healthier.
Oh, absolutely.
It can process some of these things that are a little bit more allergic. You might be allergic to, and I think that's the way to recovery for a lot of folks that are dealing with gut health issues.
I love it, man. So sleeping on your back, cherry syrup
tart,
juice.
yep. I would say the tart,
Do you have
yep.
a brand that you use? Just because I'm going to buy it right now.
Yeah. I say Vitacost. It's easy.
Vitacost
Yeah,
cherry
Vitacost.
juice.
It's just their Vitacost.com, and it comes like next day, which is cool. So you don't have to go like shopping and looking for it.
Vitacost, and it's cherry juice.
It's concentrated cherry juice. Yep, it comes
Does it
in like
taste
a
good?
glass bottle. Oh yeah, if your body likes it, if your body needs it, it
it's
actually
gonna
tastes
taste
good.
amazing.
Yeah. It actually tastes great.
Okay, yeah.
And that means your body's also inflamed.
Yeah.
And there was a time that so I don't take it as regularly anymore because when your body is done needing that, or it's like kind of cleansing itself.
Yeah.
The cherry juice itself, actually, it tastes metallic. It almost tastes like it went bad.
Whoa.
So I quickly threw a bottle away, and then I opened up a new one. It tasted the same, and I was like, this is like weird, right? So I was like, it almost tasted like I sucked on a battery or something like that. And I was like, this is like really weird. I and then I like yelled at the Vitacost like reps, and I was like, send me another one, right?
So
and
the
same
third
thing,
one?
yeah, third
Oh my
one,
gosh.
and then the third one tasted exactly the same. So I was like, you know what, my body maybe reached its tolerance. Like I
Totally.
don't need it anymore
Right.
as frequently, which is great. That means I've managed my inflammation to a degree. So I'm just maybe 2 times a week now, but I used to do it every day. Regimented, and it helps sleep because it's got melatonin in it. Obviously, disclaimer is it's a blood blood thinner because it has properties that make things give you a blood thinner. So if you're on blood thinners, go check with your doc.
Yeah, and check with your doctor for everything.
Yeah. It's just like you might be allergic, high sugar diabetics. But basically in two tablespoons,
small drops or whatever.
Two tablespoons.
Can't have that much sugar in that.
Actually, you got quite a bit, but
Okay.
in 2 tablespoons, I would say is the equivalent of, and you could eat cherries too, by the way. It's the equivalent of like 200 something cherries in 2 tablespoons, all concentrated,
Jeez.
right? So it's quite a bit, right, numbers wise.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go get that and give it a shot because we've been drinking a lot less, and we've been doing mocktails a lot more.
Perfect.
Soda water and some of the poppy soda. Have you had that?
No, I haven't.
Poppy soda. It's like a 20 calories, like really good, like tasting, fresh.
Yes.
Just soda water, that poppy drink, some calm, magnesium.
Yeah.
And just mix that up and
perfect.
every night.
Love it.
So there you have it, guys. Dr. Justin Lin, man.
Yes.
Thank you. It's been 40 minutes, if you can believe that.
Yeah. I know.
Are you ready for a beer and a sandwich?
Absolutely. Let's do that.
Where can people find you? I know it's Rehab and Revive.
So rehabandrevive.com. You can check us out there. You can also check out our YouTube. Also has our information there. So it's www.youtube.com/rehabrevive. There's no and in that. There's a long story with that, but and then you can check us out on Instagram as well. We don't post on that as much, but if you want, it's also hashtag Rehab and Revive or at Rehab and Revive handle. But I mean, I love giving you guys the right information, at least to the best of my ability. Don't burn me at the cross, because we are putting. What I like to do is I like to read a lot of research and information, and I want to. I sift through it and I kind of test it out, and then I kind of sometimes I'll meld a lot of different sources together and make that leap of faith or that assumption.
I mean, I think that's what pushes medicine forward, right?
So I call it, instead of it evidence based.
Yeah.
If you talk about what we do at our practice, it's not evidence based. It's evidence applied.
Evidence applied.
Yes.
Well, you're clearly doing a lot right. So.
Yes.
I mean, there you go, guys. Go follow Dr. Justin Lin on everywhere you can.
and then I'll get on your nerves if you do see me, and
that's
and we'll be friends.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, Ricky.
Bye.